It all started with a letter that showed up in my mailbox one sunny afternoon. At first glance, it looked like the usual stack of bills and flyers, but then I noticed the bold HOA logo on the envelope. Inside was a single page that would flip. My whole week upside down. You are hereby ordered to move your houseboat from the marina within 14 days. No explanation, no discussion, just an order. My houseboat wasn't just where I lived, was my home, my view of the water every morning, my little piece of freedom. And now the Homeowners Association wanted it gone. I read that letter 3 times, hoping I was misunderstanding something. I paid my marina fees on time. I kept my slip neat. I didn't cause noise, block anyone's view, or break any rules I knew about. But the HOA didn't call. They didn't email. They just sent. The notice? Like my life, there could be erased with one sheet of paper. I decided to walk up to the HOA office and try to talk it out. That's when things got strange. The receptionist acted like she couldn't give me details. The board members weren't available. Every question I asked was met with vague answers. And the more they dodged, the more it felt like this. Wasn't about rules at all. This was personal. The funny thing about living on a houseboat is that you learn to be resourceful. You figure out creative solutions to unexpected problems. And that's exactly where my mind went next. If they wanted to make things difficult for me, I was ready to return the favor without breaking a single law. So I came up with an idea. A big one. One that would make the HOA realize they picked the wrong fight. Within a week, the entire marine, every walkway, every dock, even the path to their office was surrounded by a brand new fence. And that's when things really started to heat up. People at the marina woke up that morning to find silver chain link running along the docks like it had grown there overnight. It wasn't just a fence, it was a statement. The gates were locked with signs that read private access, authorized, slip holders only. And guess who decided who was authorized? That's right, me. I wasn't blocking anyone from their boats. But now everyone had to go through me to get where they were going, including the HOA members who kept there. Expensive yachts tied up just a few slips away. It didn't take long for word to spread. Neighbors came over asking what was going on. Some whispered they'd had their own strange run-ins with the HOA petty fines for things that didn't make sense. Sudden policy changes that always seemed to benefit the same small group. I started piecing together a bigger picture. Maybe my houseboat was just the latest in a line of quiet pushes to get certain people out. But why? That night, as I sat on the deck of my boat, watching the water ripple under the moonlight, I kept replaying my last conversation at the HOA office. The way the receptionist avoided eye contact. The way the board president's voice had this smug calmness over the phone, like they already knew how this would end. It felt less like a disagreement over rules and more like a game they'd played. Before, the fence was my first move in pushing back, but it was also a test. Would they come down here themselves? Would they send security? Or would they try something sneakier? Every creak of the dock that night made me wonder if they were planning their next step. By the second day, I got my answer, sort of. A plain white envelope was left on my deck. No return address, no name. Inside was a single sentence written in bold black marker. This will not end well for you. I just stood there, the marina quiet around me, the sound of the water lapping against the hull. Whatever this was, it was bigger than just a fence. And I wasn't about to back down. I stared at that note for a long time. The letters looking like they'd been pressed into the paper with more force than necessary. It wasn't just a warning. It felt like a challenge. But from who? The HOA. Bored. Some angry boat owner annoyed about the fence. Or maybe someone else entirely who had their own reasons for wanting me gone. Out here, you get used to a certain rhythm neighbors wave. Gulls circle overhead. The tide rises and falls. But now every face I passed seemed to carry a hint of suspicion, like they knew more than they were saying. The marina wasn't just slips and boats. It was a tight little community, full of people who'd been here for years. Old man Carter, whose fishing boat hadn't left the dock in a decade, suddenly started asking me strange questions about my lease. A young couple 2 slips over avoided my eyes completely. Even the harbor master, usually all smiles, seemed tense when we crossed paths. I started thinking about the HOA itself. The board members didn't even live on the water, they owned condos up the hill. So why care so much about my houseboat? One rumor I'd heard was that a developer had been sniffing around, offering big money to upgrade the marina. My slip and a few others were in the way of their plans. If that was true, this wasn't about rules at all. It was about clearing the deck for a payday. But the fence had done more than just protect my space. It had drawn a line literally. A few boat owners started quietly supporting me, saying they were tired of the HOA's surprise inspections and sudden fee hikes. Others thought I was stirring up trouble and putting everyone at risk. The divide was growing. I could feel the tension tightening like a rope ready to snap. Late one evening, I heard the crunch of footsteps on the dock outside my boat. When I peeked through the blinds, a shadow stood at the gate of my fence, not moving, just watching. After a long minute, they turned and disappeared into the darkness. It was clear now this wasn't just about a fight with the HOA. I was in the middle of something much bigger. And someone out there was making sure I knew it by the end of that week. The marina felt like a powder keg. Conversations stopped when I walked by. The HOA still hadn't contacted me directly about the fence, but I could feel them moving in the background. Every day, I noticed small changes: new security cameras mounted near the docks, unfamiliar cars parked up by the main office, strangers walking the boardwalk like they were surveying the place. Then, the notices started appearing, not in envelopes. This time just taped to the fence, to my door, even slipped under the gate. Some were official HOA letters threatening fines for obstruction of common areas. Others were handwritten messages, ranging from "you're doing the right thing" to "get out before it's too late." I didn't know which ones to take seriously, but the sheer number of them made it impossible to ignore. I decided to start documenting everything. Photos of the notes, videos of late-night footsteps on the dock, a log of every odd interaction I had. If this was going to turn into a legal fight, I wanted every detail on my side. But deep down, I knew this was moving beyond paperwork. One night, I spotted movement near the harbor master's shed. The figure was dressed in dark clothing, hunched low, moving fast. I crept along the dock, keeping my footsteps light, until I got close enough to hear the faint clink of tools. They were working on the lock to the power supply for the dock scudding. Maybe. If they killed the electricity, it wouldn't just be me in trouble. It would shut down the entire marina. Before I could say anything, they froze, head turning slightly like they'd sensed me. In the dim light, I saw a flash of something in their hand metal, glinting. Then, without a word, they bolted down. The dock end disappeared into the night. That was the moment I realized this fight wasn't going to stay in the realm of HOA meetings and letters. Someone was willing to take real risks to force me out, and if they were bold enough to cut the power, what else might they try next? The marina was no longer just my home, it was the battleground. The next morning, I woke up to an eerie silence. Normally, the marina hummed with life engines, starting gulls, squawking, water slapping against hulls. But that day, nothing. I stepped outside and instantly understood why. The entire dock was littered with red, condemned notices. Every slip, every walkway, even my houseboat had one slapped across it in bold letters. The HOA wasn't just targeting me anymore. Somehow, overnight, they'd declared the whole marina unsafe for occupancy. People were standing outside their boats, holding the notices like they couldn't believe what they were reading. The harbormaster was pacing, phone pressed to his ear, his voice rising as he argued with someone I couldn't hear. It was a bold move, and it sent a clear message: if I wouldn't leave willingly, they'd make life so uncomfortable that everyone else would start demanding I go. But here's the part that didn't add up. The marina had just passed its annual inspection a few months ago. No structural issues, no safety hazards. This sudden condemnation was too convenient to be real. That's when the second twist hit me. A friend who worked in the county records office called, whispering into the phone. She'd stumbled on a permit application filed just days ago for a marina redevelopment project. The proposed buyer, a real estate group connected to one of the HOA board members. The project map showed something that made my stomach drop my slip. My boat, my home, wasn't even on it. In its place was a private dock for luxury yachts. The condemnation wasn't about safety. It was about clearing out the marina fast before anyone could fight back. And with the whole place suddenly under unsafe status, they could bypass months of hearings and public notices. That evening, as the sun dipped low and the water turned gold, I saw them, 3 HOA board members, walking the dock with clipboards, pointing toward my fence, my boat, my side of the marina. They weren't even hiding it anymore. If